Special edition of PFT PM because there are two different legal issues that need to be addressed on this Thursday morning. I'm going to begin with the news, courtesy of Adam Schefter of ESPN, that Chiefs receiver Rashee Rice is expected to have his disciplinary hearing on September 30. Now, quick refresher, Rice was involved in a street racing incident in Dallas in early 2024. The legal case against him, 8 felonies, was lingering, and he wasn't placed on paid leave. He suffered a knee injury last year. There was no clarity as to what was going to happen with his case under the personal conduct policy because his case in the legal system had not been resolved. That got resolved earlier this year. 2 felonies to which he pleaded guilty, and now the ball's in the NFL's court. Usually what happens is there's an attempt to work it out between the league and the player / the union / his agent. They haven't been able to work it out. The fact that a hearing has been set is an indication that they haven't been able to work it out. Think of Justin Tucker's situation. 10-game suspension without any report, any suggestion that a hearing date had been set. They worked it out. It's like a plea bargain that happens in the criminal setting. You reach an agreement, you don't have to have the formal process activated. If you don't reach an agreement, we need to have a hearing. So, what this means, and look, here's a little tip for those of you who regularly read PFT. You will see me say things that look like speculation at times. At times, it's not really speculation. I know what's going on, but I can't report it per se, but I know what's happening. And if you read one of our recent articles on Rashee Rice, you'll see that I said there's a chance he's going to play in 2025 before he would be suspended. And here we are. If it's September 30 for the hearing, well, there's going to be some time after that before there's a ruling. And he'll have an appeal right under the personal conduct policy. He could play half the season before his suspension is finalized. It all depends upon how quickly or slowly the NFL moves after that hearing happens. The other question as it relates to the hearing, and I'm trying to get the answer to this one, because there's been some talk that there may not be a hearing before retired Judge Sue L. Robinson, who handled the Deshaun Watson case 3 years ago, because there's nothing in dispute. There's no reason to have the judge determine what happened. You know, that happens in the court system. There'll be arguments. We don't need to have a jury come in and figure out who ran the red light or who's telling the truth or whatever. A jury would be there to hear the evidence and come to a decision as to which version of the truth is the accurate one. There is no dispute. And it's all on video. We saw it. We know what he did. It's just a question of determining the punishment. So if you don't need that, it goes right to Roger Goodell. Now, I'm not sure that's how it really would work. I have to research that. That's a lawyer's way of saying I don't know. It always sounded good. I remember the first time I heard that. I was practicing law in Pittsburgh, and one of the senior partners was asked a question by a client, and he said, I haven't researched that yet. And he kind of looked at me and smiled because he was on the phone. And it's like, that's your way of saying, I don't know. I don't know. But do you need to have Judge Robinson if the facts aren't in dispute, but we need to figure out what the punishment is? Because technically she figures it out, and that part of the case is appealable to the commissioner. The commissioner's got final say on the punishment, not on the facts. The facts as found by Judge Robinson are unappealable, final, binding. But the punishment can be changed by the commissioner. I don't understand why you wouldn't have an initial hearing before Judge Robinson. Because you at least have to have a factual record that the commissioner can then work with. So I'm going to look at the policy and I'll write something at PFT about it, but I find it hard to believe that it wouldn't go to Judge Robinson first. But maybe it won't, because I've heard talk that it won't, and it'll go straight to the commissioner. Either way, he's got the final say. And what will the punishment be? And it's predictable that there will be Chiefs fans saying it should be short. That's how this goes. Precedent suggests that it would be 1 or 2 games based upon this case, that case, whatever. Here's the reality. We've got video here. And if you think video doesn't matter, go have a conversation with Ray Rice. When we knew that he had knocked out Janae Palmer in an Atlantic City elevator, we knew. We knew he'd knocked her out, rendered her unconscious. We knew it. We didn't see it, but we knew it. 2-game suspension. Once we saw it, more importantly, once the league saw it, once the Ravens saw it, Ray Rice never plays again. That all hit the fan the day after the first Sunday of the regular season in 2014. We knew what he did, and he got suspended 2 games. The video was released by TMZ the Monday after the first week of regular season games, and he never played again. Video changes everything, even though, and I remember arguing at the time, did we really need to see the video? There was reporting on whether or not the NFL had the video before TMZ did, and I'd say there was about a week and a half where the commissioner went to bed at night not knowing whether or not he would have to resign the next day. That's how bad it was. Did you really need to see the video to know what it looks like when someone knocks someone out? But that's the reality. Video changes everything. So you can make the argument there was some Jets player who was driving without a license and rendered someone paraplegic. I believe those were the facts. He got suspended a short period of time. You could argue that that's comparable. Look, at the end of the day, the commissioner is going to do whatever the hell the commissioner wants to do. And video changes everything. I've felt like it's going to be somewhere in the range of 6 to 10 games. That just feels like where it's going to be. I'm not saying it feels like it's right. I'm just saying that just feels like where it's going to be because it was on video. And there needs to be, I think, a greater appreciation of the inherent risk of that kind of behavior. I'm not a big fan of the punishment being driven by the outcome. Well, nobody got killed, so we're not going to do anything more than slap your wrist. You got lucky, mister. Well, the deterrent should be don't do it. Not, well, you know what? Go ahead and do it. You may get lucky and no one may get killed. The deterrent should be don't street race. The deterrent should be don't drive around any other cars at high rates of speed, period. That should be the deterrent. That's irrelevant to the outcome. And again, it's on video. So we'll see what happens with Rashee Rice. And remember this, they can reach an agreement at any time. And the Chiefs, I think, are going to be part of this calculation because they look at it and say, okay, he plays the first 8 games, and then how many games is he going to miss? What's it going to be? If it's 8 games after that, he comes back for week 17, week 18, and we'd like him to be back a little sooner than that. Maybe he should just go ahead and accept 6 now. We don't know what the league has asked for. We don't know what the NFLPA and Rice have offered. It could be 1 or 2 on one end. It could be 12 on the other. We don't know. But the gap is too big for the two sides to come together, which is why this process is being activated. That's the bottom line. If they were in agreement like Justin Tucker and the league were, it would already be done. It's not. There's no agreement. It's more like Deshaun Watson. We have to go through the process because the two sides don't agree on what the proper punishment should be, and it's for the commissioner to decide. And here's the reality. Because the commissioner's the one who's making the decision, it's more likely that whatever the league is asking for is what the league is going to get because he is the league, which leads directly into the other reason that I am here instead of down in my office copying, pasting, and snarky commenting my way through articles at PFT. There's been another legal ruling today, and it has been a bad week for the NFL in court. John Gruden won in the Nevada Supreme Court on the question of whether or not his claims against the league and Roger Goodell will be resolved in court or sent to arbitration. For now, it's all going to be done in open court. For Brian Flores, the former Dolphins head coach and current Vikings defensive coordinator, he secured a victory in a federal appeals court. It's called the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit. It's got jurisdiction over New York State and some other states. It's the court where you go after you're in the Southern District of New York. That court has ruled. And this one gets a little complicated. I'm going to try to make it as simple as I can. Brian Flores sued the Dolphins for wrongful discharge. He sued the Giants and the Broncos for failure to hire him. He sued the Texans for failure to hire him in retaliation for the lawsuit that he filed against the Dolphins. And he sued the league under all theories. And this is a racial discrimination class action. Other coaches have joined it, but this is about Flores. And look, Flores clearly needs to go to arbitration for his claim against the Dolphins. The arbitration clause was in his contract with the Dolphins. That's clear. They put these arbitration clauses in every coach's contract. So if you are suing the team that fired you, you have to go to arbitration. Got an arbitration clause saying any claim arising from this agreement, arising from this relationship, will be resolved in arbitration, presided over by the commissioner. As unfair as that may be, that's what's in the contract. And what are you going to say? I don't want to be the coach of the Dolphins. I refuse to sign it. That's how it goes. So the claims against the Dolphins, they go to arbitration. But the fight was over the claims against the Giants, the Broncos, the Texans, and the NFL because they're not parties to the employment agreement. So the district court found Flores does not have to go to arbitration for those claims. The NFL appealed it, and the Second Circuit Court of Appeals, 3-judge panel, there's like 20, 30 Second Circuit judges. They randomly determined a 3-judge panel. They determined that Flores does not have to go to arbitration on those claims. It's a loss for the NFL. The NFL issued a statement in response to an email that we sent to their chief spokesperson, Brian McCarthy. They are going to appeal the case. And I assume that means, because procedurally you've got to check some boxes. You have to file a motion for a rehearing, and then once that's denied, then you file a petition for appeal with the U.S. Supreme Court. So it's the same posture they're in with Gruden's case. There'll be a rehearing at the court that just found against them, or at least a request for a rehearing, and then there will be a petition for appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. So it will take time. These things take time. The Gruden case was filed November of 2021. We're still stuck at square one. Where's the case going to be litigated? Open court or arbitration? Brian Flores, he filed February of 2022. We're still stuck at square one. Where are these claims going to be resolved? That's just the way it goes. And I'm not saying the NFL does this illegitimately, but by making these arguments, the practical consequence is it slows everything down. It slows it down. And meanwhile, Flores is working in the NFL. And every year when the Vikings defenses do well, he's been the coordinator 2 years now, there's talk about him possibly being a head coach. But you know what? When it's time to fill out the dance card, after the 23 season, his name never came up. Last year he got some interviews, but it didn't go anywhere. We'll see what happens if the Vikings have a great defense this year and whether or not he gets opportunities and gets an offer to be a coach again, a head coach. Could be as long as this case is hanging around. It may not happen. And as it relates to the Dolphins, the Giants, the Broncos, and the Texans, those teams probably won't be hiring Brian Flores now or at any point in the future. So that's where Flores stands. We talked about Rice. That should be it for the NFL's legal docket, which never quite disappears and always tends to give us something we can discuss here. 3 things this week so far: Gruden, Rice, Flores. We'll keep watching those and all other legal issues and any other news relating to the NFL, to the delight of Jerry Jones, who knows that the NFL is the ultimate soap opera. He couldn't be more accurate, and we're here to cover every minute of it. We'll see you Friday morning for a new edition of PFT Live and PFT PM whenever and wherever it is required. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.